Ladies and gentlemen, speech is power, speech is to persuade.
To convert and to compel.
And that's why we're here to debate, only on the show that gives you the best debates on the country. This is the Great Debaters Contest Season 9, Nairobi region. I am your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperantia Kapanga. And in today's debate, we would like to find solutions for alleviating poverty with the motion, African states must allow the free movement of labor to help alleviate poverty in the continent.
In the proposition, we have Aga Khan High School.
And in the opposition, we have State House Girls High School. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes to make a statement.
War of nations are fought to change maps, but wars of poverty are fought to map change. Ladies and gentlemen, before you is Madiha Said from the Aga Khan High School, Nairobi, here to strongly and wholeheartedly propose the motion that states, African states must allow free movement of labor to help alleviate poverty in the continent. Allow me to define these terms. What is labor? Workers, especially people who do practical work with their hands. What is poverty? It is a condition where people's basic needs such as food, water, and clothing are not being met. What is free movement of labor? Right? It is the right to enter and exit member states and to move within them, subject to the state's laws and procedures. It regards the freedom to travel and to move goods between different states. Through proposing this motion, my teammates and I seek to address the Sustainable Development Goal number 1 that states no poverty, and Sustainable Development Goal number 8 that states decent work and economic growth. Allow me to state a research that was carried out according to the African Development Bank report that states African travel to Rwanda has increased by 22% since it eased visa requirements in 2013. Since then, the Rwanda cross-border trade with Kenya and Uganda has increased by 50%. This is evidence that free movement of labor and capital boosts economic activity, thereby aiding a country to alleviate poverty. I will give the example of teachers, ladies and gentlemen. Rwanda is a country that is known to speak French, while Kenya is a country known to speak English and Kiswahili. Imagine if a teacher from Rwanda can come to Kenya and teach French without any difficulty in coming here due to the little requirements that are required. Policies introducing free movement and providing appropriate travel documents provide a method to manage migration. Allow me to take you to America. I'm sure most of us have a dream to go to America at least once in their life. Mexicans are known to traffic themselves into America. Why? Because their migration is restricted. They cannot go to another country because in their country, they do not have the proper education. They fear their own country, so they want to go to another country. Imagine right now, if Kenya allows free labor market, then the country, with the provision of travel documentation, provides migrants with an identity as movement is monitored. The big picture of migration can be provided. The information, the evidence, the data that is gathered from how many people are moving into Kenya, at least in 1 year. 1 year, 50 people migrated into Kenya. Maybe some came from UN. Maybe some came from Australia. Maybe some were doctors who came from India. In the second year, we had 50 people. Through this, the data that is collected will enable effective policies to be constructed for places of origin and destination and to enable trade efficiency, thereby alleviating poverty in the continent. Thank you.
First proposer, you have 3 minutes to make a statement.
Reality versus imagination. Africa will be at a better place if poverty was alleviated. I strongly oppose the motion that states African states must allow free movement of labor to help alleviate poverty in the continent. What is the definition of free movement of labor? What does it mean to alleviate? What is poverty? Free movement of labor is the ease of crossing borders to other countries other than where one was born or lives to go work or establish a business permanently or temporarily. To alleviate is to make something less severe. In accordance to World Bank report that defines poverty as living in less than $1.90 US, this simply means that this is 190 Kenya shillings. Just imagine a Kenyan family of 7 living on 190 Kenya shillings. I stand before you not to base my arguments on mere statements, but to present you with nothing but facts. In reference to the Business Daily report, 47% living in African states are living below the poverty line. What does this tell us? This means that poverty is prevalent and requires other methods to alleviate it other than free movement of labor. One may ask, what is this girl trying to say? Everybody eats. Do people eat plastics or do they eat concrete? People neither eat newspapers nor cotton wool. What point am I trying to drive home? Agriculture is the backbone of the economy, and this simply means that nearly everything that we consume comes from agriculture. If governments of different African states come together to invest and implement agricultural policies, it will help alleviate poverty. I still stand firm on my point. Free movement of labor is not the answer to alleviate poverty. More than one in every 3 Kenyan leave the country to go abroad, either to pursue education or for work purposes. What do I mean? This means that less people want to move. Neither Europe nor North America, but another African country that is thriving. One may question the source of this information. The Business Daily report, published on Wednesday, March 27th, 2019. Afrobarometer Executive Director is the one who published this report. You may all be wondering who this great advocate before you is. Chelsea Owino, the State House.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
I would like you guys to think about something. If we will say United States of Africa, how does that make you feel? Do you feel proud? Do you feel happy? I, Annalise Wangoi Gitao, I come before you to propose this motion. African states must allow free movement of labor to help alleviate poverty in the continent. So she mentioned something about agriculture as a method instead of using free movement. She mentioned that we use agriculture. So she mentioned that we give. So I'll suggest that we give certain countries, such as Kenya and Rwanda, to be agricultural based. Then Nigeria and South Africa, for example, to be industrial based. This will allow people to get labor. So if you are a farmer, you will move to Kenya and Rwanda and we will sell products throughout the continent. This will greatly develop our continent. So I'll first move on to my first, I'll go to my first point, skills. So think about it. Recently, we got doctors from Cuba to heal people in Kenya. But we have so many professional doctors in Kenya, such as the people who graduate from Nairobi University, Makerere in University, and they're qualified doctors. Why wouldn't we hire those ones instead of getting from other continents? Our continent will be sustainable by its own if we could just try. Second of all, I would like to focus on trade. So trade, we made the SGR and the road construction in Kenya, even on the Wayaki Way, and every time you pass through there, you see Chinese people. You wonder, I mean, Africa, we have steel, we have cement. We could get these things from another African country. Therefore, we develop our own continent instead of getting resources from other continents, such as Asia. I do not understand why we do not even hire our own engineers. We have really good engineers here who graduated from different universities, and even around Africa. We would have hired those ones instead to develop our own continent. Lastly, I would like to emphasize on, think about when someone, my fellow proposer mentioned, if someone is a teacher. So how many people have been have a degree in teaching, and they're not getting a job in this country, if you think about it. They're poor because they don't have a job. So they teach English, but there's also a francophone country such as Congo, where there's someone who teaches French, and they're also poor. If the teacher who teaches English moves to Congo to teach the Congolese how to teach them English, and the Congolese teacher moves to Kenya to teach them English, imagine how great we'll develop our continent. Thank you very much. My name is Annalise Wangwe Gitao from Aga Khan High School.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
Lack of financial planning is the root of all empty wallets. These are wise words from Mark Duke, the strategist. This is one of the examples that does not have the lack of free movement of labor as a root of poverty. To answer some of your questions, you talked about Rwanda and Kenya. You are giving examples between two countries, and yet we are talking about the continent. How many countries are in Africa? 52 good countries. And in 52 good countries, you only gave examples of 2 countries, Rwanda and Kenya. You are giving pairs. You are not including all the countries. You talked about having trade amongst the countries. Let me tell you, there's a difference between trade and free movement of labor. Trade, we can use trade blocks. For example, ECOWAS, COMESA, free movement of labor means that there will be no restrictions to move from one country to another. So there are 2 different things. Those are 2 different things. We are here saying that we should allow free movement of labor. We are saying it's a must for alleviation of poverty. But have we looked at the effects of the free movement of labor? We'll have large net flow of people into the country, which will cause strain on infrastructure, strain on health and education, because the government did not plan for more than the population they had. We have congestion and housing crises. We have downward pressure on wages. And most of all, we'll have brain drain. Because let's be honest, who will move from an underdeveloped country to another underdeveloped country to work? You'll have to move from an underdeveloped country to a developed country. For example, you'll move from Kenya to a country like South Africa, meaning we'll be causing overpopulation in countries like South Africa and underpopulation in our countries. So I am sure some of you are asking, if we do not allow free movement of labor, then what are other solutions to this problem? 1, we have to develop and implement rapid and sustained economic growth policies and programs. We also have to empower people living in poverty by involving them in development and implementation of plans and programs, because at the end of the day, we are looking of ways to curb poverty. So we have to include the people themselves, the poor people themselves. We also have encouraging countries to engage in trade using the trade blocks, the ECOWAS, the COMESA, and we have an example of Botswana, who traded their way out of poverty. So if they did it, what other country cannot do it? Botswana did it, we all can do it. Again, we have improved management of water and other natural resources. As Africa, we depend on our natural resources. We are not like Japan, who have machinery, who have all that development in engineering and everything. We depend on our natural resources. So why not take care of it and later on manage to actually alleviate this poverty of ours? Thank you.
The proposers have been asked to give examples of other sectors other than the profession of teachers who will be benefited by these new policies that they are proposing. The opposers, on the other hand, have been asked, how else do we improve our continent if we do not integrate? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to respond.
First of all, an answer to the young lady whose name I unfortunately forgot. If you had cared to listen, the second speaker obviously mentioned that there will be integration. Other people who with expertise will go to other countries. For instance, she said engineers, professors, and doctors. So that's my answer to you. A great quote by a great woman. Poverty is not only about income poverty. It is about the deprivation of economic and equal right, insecurity, discrimination, exclusion, powerlessness, That is why the issue of poverty must not be ignored, but given an even greater prominence in the times of economic deprivation. For my first point, first of all, Africa is an untapped gold mine of resources and income for security contractors. First of all, in South Africa, in countries such as countries such as Congo, which has been struggling since 1998 with the issue of rebellions, say with the M23 rebellions, who have been accused of committing atrocities against humanity, such as rape and attacking innocent civilians in the name of fighting the government. Africa is known to be poor for one main reason, which is insecurity. In South Africa, it is one of the leading regions in the world with private militia, which when we allow the movement of labor to other nations, will allow for the protection of gold mining sites. For instance, there's a rare element which is used in making phones, which is mostly found in Congo. The rebellion are using it are extracting it and using it in the black market to purchase illegal arms in the black market. However, if we introduce private militia to the nation, they will combat these rebels and then boost the country's economy by protecting gold mining sites and also protecting the innocent civilians from random attacks. To conclude, I want you all to join me in unifying our great continent and making it a superpower, as how America has become a superpower from different states. Thank you very much. This is Yunus Abdi Sheikh from the Aga Khan High School, Nairobi, representing His Highness.
Claudia Puze, you have 3 minutes to respond to your question.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'd like first to answer your question. I do understand that you're from Moifoisis High School, right? First, we were with your student leaders in Nakuru, and we were able to be taught on better leadership skills. Now, this is to answer your question on how we can integrate. First and foremost, we have African Union. The African Union is there to help the members of the assembly to know on better ways to improve their countries. During that function in Kesha, Nakuru, we were able to integrate with other schools. And that is where we were able to learn on what other schools do so that we may be able to have better leadership skills. I am Dungo Ivy Nyakinyo, and I'm here to oppose the motion that states that African states must, and I repeat, must, allow the free movement of labor to help elevate poverty in the continent. So we have great leaders, for example, Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn states that free movement can be used as a proxy or to abuse or intimidate minority communities within our countries. Now, let me give an example of EU. He is a leader in the British Council. And this means that he has the understanding of the fact that once they allow free movement of labor, and I do know that it has been stopped because the Prime Minister, Theresa May, said that it will be stopped because it is a way of actually intimidating the minority because they have no say in the society. Let's face facts. The fact that people who go to other countries, it's not them who are going to be able to benefit. Let's face it. It's the leaders who are there who are going to be able to benefit. So if we have leaders such as Jeremy Corbyn, we'll be able to improve our countries so that we may be at a better state of economically, because we can't say that free movement of labor is the only one that is there. So kindly, let's join hands so that we may end poverty in our country through use of innovations. Let me give you an example. In the 1800s in the USA, Henry Ford realized that cars were a luxury for the rich. What he did was not send money to the poor. What he did was not allow them to move from one state to another. He invented a car that will be able to be afforded by the poor. This meant that it will be able to allow them to move from one place to another. It led to an increase in economy in the US because of the fact that they were able to put gas tax and car tax, so the government was able to improve on their economy. So let's use things such as ecological projects to be able to improve in our agriculture. We do realize that agriculture is a really, really, really arable land through the use of ecological projects. So I'll say that as long as poverty and hunger is prevalent in any continent, then the world at large is never safe. These are words of Achilles. So, Your Honor, I'd like to request you to charge them guilty of making our continent the major source of unsafety. Thank you.
Proposers, you have 1 minute to make a final submission.
I stand before you all again to conclude our motion put forward by my team. All of the propositions that my team and I honorably put forward to the audience and judge are not just to discourage poverty and increase the economy of all nations in our continent, but to also encourage peace and unity and unify all of us. All of our propositions have touched on the Sustainable Development Goal 8 or SDG 8. For instance, by 2030, we will achieve higher levels of economic productivity through diversification, technological upgrading, and innovation, including through a focus on high value added and labor intensive sectors. Thank you all for your time.
Opposers, you have 1 minute to make a final submission.
If you go out into the real world, you cannot miss seeing that the poor are not poor, not because they are untrained or illiterate, but because they cannot retain the returns of their labor. They have no control over their labor capital, as it is the ability to control capital that gives people the power to rise out of poverty. A quote by Mohammed Yunus. So, free movement of labor. If we implement it, how good of a solution will it be? Africa is the poorest continent, not the only poor continent. So if it's too much of a good solution, why is it that the other continents, like Asia, have not implemented it yet? So let's join hands and see that Africa is made up of very poor people, and this method cannot work. We need other solutions. Thank you.
First of all, it's a relationship we're seeing here. It's a cause and effect that if we allow movement of goods, possibly, maybe, we could alleviate a lot of these challenges we have, especially with regards to poverty and all that. The first thing I want you to understand by the time you live in this stage is that debate is an art, okay? Being an art, then it means it has a lot of elements that you can use to convince people. One of it being persuasion, how you use the stage and the likes. And so when you come, you can have, again, a lot of facts, good information, but how you present it as well matters, is it? So that being the case, and this being a stage where debate is all about trying to capture as much as you can the attention of the audience, you really want to improve on that. So across the board, yes, you're great speakers, but can you have that stage presence that will command that attention? I think that's something that everybody can work on. All the best to both teams. I felt that this motion could have been more justly addressed, not the way it was so far. All the best.
And now we're down to the moment of truth. Aga Khan High School. The judges awarded you 64%. Let's give them a round of applause. State House Girls High School. You earned yourself 66%, making you the winners of this debate. Congratulations to both schools, and thank you for the effort put in.
Ladies and gentlemen, remember the debate may be over, but the conversation still continues across our social media platforms with the hashtag GDC for SDGs. Note, this is the only show that gives you the best debates in the country. I've been your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperanza Kapanga. See you in the next debate.